Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So we're finally getting our first look at the Joker, or as the title suggests, just Joker. Of course, this isn't our first look. We've had some behind the scene photos and some clips here and there over the past few months to basically give us an idea as to the tone that this film will be following. This is drastically different from what we're from anything we've seen, whether in anything we've seen in DCEU, honestly. No, I can understand. I do understand. There might be some confusion for some the general audience going in, wondering, okay, why is there a second Joker? Because you already have a Joker existing in the DCEU. As someone who is a huge fan of DC in its entirety, I'm somewhat accustomed to the multiverse and having different versions of different characters existing in different timelines, right? But for the average moviegoer, they may be looking at this and they, okay, what's happening? Where's Jared Leto, right? So that's definitely a hurdle that they do have to overcome. But from what we know about the film so far, it is not intended to be an extension of the DCEU or any universe for that matter, but a contained film on its own, right? So without any further discussion, let's jump in, right?
Arthur, does it help to have someone to talk
Arthur Fleck. A Fleck. Affleck.
My mother always tells me to smile and put on a happy face.
Smile.
She told me I had a purpose
People don't.
to bring laughter and joy to the world.
Everything is cool. Don't be. Damn.
Is it just me? Or is it getting crazier out there?
That's a lot of weight for this. And the Joker in the comics really is this lanky, tall, lanky character. Zazie Beetz?
When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by.
What?
If you smile,
Comedian, pogos,
sorrows
that
smile,
laugh.
and maybe tomorrow you'll find that life is still worthwhile. If you
What's so funny?
just
Freak?
This is how villains are born, okay?
Gotham has lost its way. What kind of coward would do something that cold-blooded? Someone who hides behind a mask.
I used to think that my life was a tragedy.
Robert De Niro?
But now I realize it's a comedy.
if you just smile.
October. All right, so there we have it. I have to say, all right, first of all, it's a beautifully shot film. It's not exactly what I expected, honestly, and that's a good thing, right? From beginning to end, it feels like it's vying to be an Oscar contender, right? A highbrow comic book film, which is akin to what we sort of experienced with the Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, right? Where it's a crime film and secondary a comic book film, and that stuff just happens to be some of the elements happening in the background, but it's a crime drama first and foremost. And here it seems very similar in context, right? It's a drama first about mental illness, and if I remember correctly, right, it reminds me a whole lot of The Killing Joke, right? Oh, it was one, I believe that's one of the few stories that actually attempts to explore the Joker's origins, his background. But it was done in a slightly different way. I believe in The Killing Joke he had, and maybe this was just an animated film and not the comics, I don't remember exactly. But he had a wife, a pregnant wife, I think. And he might have been a comedian, but I recall he was attempting to help some guys pull off a heist, and they betrayed him at the end and threw him in these chemicals, and that's how he ended up becoming the Joker. Clearly they're going a slightly different route here, but we do see him with Zazie Beetz in the trailer here, which I don't know, she could be a love interest for him, and of course his mom, who he is taking care of. But I just recall watching the entire video, and that line just kept coming back to me. All it takes is one bad day. Right, and of course Fleck here has had several bad days, and I guess eventually he snaps. Right, so a lot of, for me at the very least, a lot of similarities there with this Joker and that one. And I know for a lot of fans who appreciates the nuances of Ledger's performance in the Dark Knight trilogy, and even more than that, the Joker's origins being a mystery, right? Where it's not something that can just be explained away. The madness is not rational, it's not logical, it just is, right? And I too like that aspect of it. I love that, but at the same time, I don't think that's reason enough for them not to explore some element. Again, I mentioned multiverses before. I'm sure we can look at it that way. In one instance, the Joker somewhere has a backstory, right? We will still have that Joker who's still a mystery. But this exploring and exploring his psychosis here, and how he transforms, how he breaks, right? Slowly from sanity to madness. And so it would definitely be something interesting to see. The release date again in October again suggests that maybe this is being positioned as an Oscar contender, and with Joaquin Phoenix doing such a terrific job, I can actually see something like that happening. But that said, we don't know enough about the story yet to know how exactly this will play out. It's obviously not going to be one of those action films with any with any sequences or anything like that. No, it seems to be going for a completely different tone than what we expected, right? Now, as for if they do decide to go the route of tying this into the DCEU in some way or form, I can't think of some way in which they can actually do that, and it's still a bit of a deviation from what we've come to know from the Joker. Yes, I understand, but if they do, if this does well enough, and they do feel the need to maybe not necessarily replace Jared Leto, but actually have more than one Joker, or at least maybe not in the same timeline, but the existence of more than one, right? I say this because I watched Gotham for the most part, I think for season 1, some parts of season 2, wherever the Joker was introduced there, or it wasn't called the Joker at the time, but I stopped watching it. But I liked season 1 for the most part, right? And one of the takeaways from that for me was that Joker, one of the lines that he says in the series, that laughter is contagious, right? And I remember there was this episode where, and I'm not sure if it was related to his, but I believe it was his introduction, where they had these characters at different points throughout the town, throughout Gotham, where each of these guys, once they put on, it was this mask, I think this red mask, and each time one of them would put it on, they would become hysterical, and it was as if they were being imbued by some curse or something, right? They immediately lost their minds and began committing crimes and doing all these crazy things. And that is something I think they can, maybe not in its entirety, but borrow some elements from that for this, if they decide to go that route, where the Joker, his insanity is something akin to a virus, or if any of you have actually seen The Mask with Jim Carrey, right, where that mask itself, anyone who puts it on, they're practically immortal, right? But they're also in some ways they lack morals, and it's the entire world is just their playground, right? And I believe they had mentioned in the film itself that the mask belonged to Loki, right? But I mean, again, they don't have to go that route, but they can explore some elements where, okay, the Joker and his insanity, what makes him what he is, it's something that happens every few years that just selects these specific persons throughout time, and this one person is this is set. I believe this film is actually set in the 70s or 80s, right? So it selects this one person, and later on someone else has it. So that could explain Jared Leto's existence in the timeline, and maybe it will pass on to someone else after he dies or something to that effect. All right, so could go a route like that. It could be a similar route like that. We saw in the trailer here where he was interacting with a little boy, and I believe persons were suggesting that that boy is actually Bruce Wayne. Now, if that may well be the case, if it is the case, fine. But if not, have Arthur interact with some other kid who, let's say he, for lack of a better word, infects with the Joker, whatever it is that entity is, whatever the madness is, whatever it is contagious, and he passes it on to this person, right? And the effects don't have to be immediate, but maybe years later, when that boy reaches a breaking point, right? And maybe that can be what triggers it, right? Once that boy reaches certain events in his life, gets to a point where where he breaks, and at that point the Joker itself, whatever that phenomenon is, comes out. And again, these ideas could be very preposterous, sound very good on paper, but in execution, absolute rubbish, right? But that's just something that I can get behind in thinking about it. How can this be done? It was done in something similar was done in Gotham, and I really liked that part of their introduction to the Joker, where laughter is contagious, and it's as if the persons couldn't help themselves. And I believe that is how it made its way to Jerome, I think was the character's name in Gotham. That's how he came to be the Joker himself there. So make the Joker, it doesn't have to be something magical or fantastic or anything like that, but make it something, you don't even have to explain it, to be honest. If we're talking about ensuring the character's legacy remains intact, in that his background, his origins is a mystery, right? So you don't even have to explain it, or you can drop subtle hints here and there to suggest that, okay, at certain points this phenomenon happened, and this man did this horrible thing, and then he just vanished, and that was it. And later on in current time, he reappears somehow, embodies himself in someone else, something to that effect, whatever it might be. I'm sure someone can come up with a much better idea than I have, but I just thought that would be very intriguing. Right, so again, back to the trailer. Definitely love this trailer. Interested to see more, to learn more about the storyline, where they intend to go from here. But we have until October. It seems as though it's been positioned as a Halloween release. Currently, we don't know. At least I don't think so. We don't know what the rating is, whether it's going to be rated R or not. I would say selfishly, I would want it to be rated R, but I mean, I'm not sure what exactly would need to be rated R here, unless this is just this is a teaser trailer, or it's being positioned as that, even though it's 2 minutes and 24 seconds. So there may be, I mean, some darker themes here that we've yet to explore that may require the R rating, but we haven't seen anything like that just yet. But either way, it should be fine. But if it is an October release, a Halloween release, I wouldn't mind seeing something rated R. I do expect that we will see some gruesome things in it based on the tone of the trailer. So that's definitely something I'm looking forward to. Alright, so be sure to post down in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are, how you felt about the trailer. Is it too much of a deviation from the Joker that you know? So be sure to hit like or subscribe, and I'll see you next time.